Did Caitlin call for you?
Unless that's that unknown number I got from out of the area, maybe. Maybe she changed her number. Yeah.
No, she's a 609 numbers. Your cell phone.
Nope. California.
The other thing. Have the other thing. Sure.
Copy and paste and get my phone.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 24th Tabernacle Township debate. Before I call the meeting to order, after we do the flag salute, Father Andrew Jameson is here from the Holy Eucharist Church to say a prayer for the Harrington and the Page families. After which we have Lieutenant Greg Gione from the New Jersey State Police. He will give a report and he will answer whatever questions he can publicly. And then from there, they will be dismissed, and then we'll go into our regular public meeting. So please stand for a flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is called pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of November the 24th, 2014 was included in the list of notices sent to the Central Record, Burlington County Times, and Courier Post, posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall, and has remained continuously posted as required notices under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Ms. Brown? Here. Mr. Franzen?
Here.
Mr. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Gates? Mayor Barton?
Present.
Thank you.
Father Jameson, please come forward.
Certainly there's so much that has affected our community with the tragedy that has happened to this family. So I've been asked to come and to join in prayer with you for them and for our community as we face this very difficult situation here. So I would like to offer our prayer in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. And if we could pray together Psalm 46. God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in distress. Thus we do not fear, though earth be shaken, and the mountains quake in the depths of the sea. Though its waters rage and foam, and mountains totter at its surging, streams of the river gladden the city of God, the holy dwelling of the Most High. God is in our midst, it shall not be shaken. God will help it at break of day. Though nations rage and kingdoms totter, he utters his voice and the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. Our stronghold is the God of Jacob. Come and see the works of the Lord, who has done fearsome deeds on earth, who stops the wars to the ends of the earth, breaks the bow, splinters the spear, and burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted among the nations, exalted on the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. Our stronghold is the God of Jacob. God of all consolation, in your unending love and mercy for us, you turn the darkness of death into the dawn of new life. Show compassion to your people in sorrow. Be our refuge and our strength, to lift us from the darkness of this grief to peace and joy in your presence. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Father Jameson. Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Craig Hannon.
Good evening, folks. My name is Greg Giannone. I'm your station commander up here at Red Lion Barracks. I've been assigned at Red Lion since a year ago, August. At some past meetings, I've sent my assistant, who's now gone, the bigger and better things, to come down and address some of the issues, because he was born and raised in this area, knows a lot of the players, mayor, school officials and whatnot. So I'm here not just for what happened last Thursday, but to also open up and let everybody know when you do have issues, whatever they happen to be, like last spring with Summit Drive and some of the quality of life issues that were going on down in that area, it was brought up at the meeting. Mike Dittmar came down, addressed it, brought it to my desk, and collectively we put a plan together. And by all accounts, I think our actions down there.
Sir, can I ask a question? I just want everybody to know that I'm the father. And I barely get any information at all. So I'm glad I came. I'm looking to speak to a trooper, but...
Sir, we'll, after this, we'll meet.
Exactly. I just wanted to announce that I was the call.
Okay. So in future meetings, or even tonight, if there are any issues in your particular neighborhood that you would like addressed, we take it all, we take a look at it, and we'll remedy it best we can. Doors open. I am an out and about kind of lieutenant. I hate being behind the desk. I'm always out at jobs that require some supervision, or just in general to get out there. So said in the past, my door is always open for anybody, or a phone call. When I'm there, if you ask for the station commander, I don't tell that sergeant, take a message. If I'm there, I will absolutely receive your call and hear what you have to say. Unfortunately, according to Jamie over here, this will be the last time you'll see me, because anytime a trooper comes in and speaks in front of Tabernacle crew,
One more.
he gets transferred. Out.
Mark my words.
Thanks, Jim.
I'm very happy at the post. I don't live too far away. I'm only 45 minutes, which is a short commute in the state police world. So hopefully I can stick around. As far as the events of Thursday, And I want to be very careful now that the father of the victims is in the room. I just want to go over the process of something like that.
Officer,
Yes, sir.
say what you gotta say, I can handle it.
Okay.
I'm very strong.
Okay, very good.
Just need some glasses.
When a call like that comes out, and even I was shocked at how quickly the press gets a hold of something like that. They have our radio frequencies, and that call came at 9:16. Our troopers were there within probably about 7 minutes, and I might have been behind them by 5 minutes. And as we were dealing with what was going on there, before we even tended to the surviving victims, there were 2 news helicopters overhead, and all they're armed with is what that original call was, which was multiple shooting victims. So I can imagine the fear that must run through a community, not knowing what's going on there, and us, we don't really have the ability to give too much information yet until we figure it out. But what I will share with you, when I was there, and it was pretty obvious, or at least we thought was pretty obvious as to what had happened or what had occurred. My first phone call or correspondence was with the schools to ensure them that there was not a threat within the community and it was not a situation for a lockdown type situation. And especially if there's anybody in this room that have children in the elementary, middle, or high school there. That, to me, is first and foremost to get that kind of information out, okay? And then just for everybody to understand that like a crime scene process like that, maybe why information didn't come out as quickly as people would like, is when we're detailed, and I'll call myself a first responder as the station commander, our job is to preserve life, much like first aid when they get there. And even though that scene was what it was clearly a crime scene, once life-saving was over with, and we tended to the victims that did survive it, the scene is essentially shut down, because we have to go through the course of law. And that is, our detectives come in, our major crimes unit comes in, and they methodically question all witnesses, including myself, as to what everybody saw that got into that room, what was apparent, and then they take all of that information and they bring it back to the station or wherever they want to convene, and they get on the phone with a prosecutor and eventually a judge, and they lay out the probable cause to apply for a search warrant for us to go in and then process that scene meticulously. And even though it sounds like, well, my gosh, you saw what it was, you know, it's simply not how it works. You have to establish probable cause, get a search warrant to go do your thing once the issue of saving lives is over. So I can tell you, I don't think that search warrant got signed off on until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right before the first press conference. And I want to thank Medford Farms for allowing us to use their building for that. And then it begins. You know, and then you have a 2-story home with a pretty complex crime scene, and then our detectives, they go in and they do their thing. Okay, so that's why, well, let's hope nothing like this or even remotely close to this ever happens again, but when you're concerned or you're looking for some information, just consider what we're usually up against on our end. And then once we find out, or we're fairly confident as to what happens, we give it to you. And that's why I'm here. At the time, the shooter and one of the children, 11-year-old Alex, did survive. Go ahead. That's okay. At the time, I think the father might have some information for us in a few minutes. The shooter passed away early Sunday morning, and 2 were killed at the scene. And that's where we stood when I walked into the room. It is classified as a murder, or murder, attempted murder, and suicide investigation. And as far as we're concerned, as far as the home and the crime scene itself, we're pretty much wrapped up down there. We've done what we've had to do. The mayor stopped by the barracks today and we spoke. And sir, I'm glad you're here. as to what the community may be able to do to help. Obviously, this is probably new for first time occurrence for everybody in this room, myself included, and I didn't know how the community goes further with services, funding, money, things of that nature with something this large. I did do a little bit of research just on my own, and in other situations throughout the country, more often than not, maybe through a church or local government. A very popular site is GoFundMe, GoFundMe.com, and they have a template that you can, put together. I don't know what their service fee is, and then they have the ability to hit Facebook, Twitter, all emails that you enter there, and it kind of blasts everything out, and anybody that is able and willing to put money into that fund for a cause such as this, that usually seems to be the route it goes. So I would leave that up to the mayor and the council if the town wishes to get involved in something like that, or the church. That's all I have. If anybody has any questions on that, if I can answer, I will. On anything else, go ahead, fire at me, I'm here. Go ahead, sir.
Did I miss any questions?
No.
Okay.
I came in just in time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, nothing more from me. Why don't we, you want to go downstairs? Is there a private office we can hit?
Yes, sir.
Susan, can you do that?
You gotta go in the private office.
Wait.
You gotta go in your office. Mike, you can go in your office. I don't have it with me. Okay, I'll get in touch with you.
Okay, I'll make sure.
Lieutenant, thanks for coming this evening and giving us our report and Father Jameson.
I want to thank the
Thank you,
community
Mr. Harris.
for coming out.
Mr. Herman, our condolences to you. Father Jameson, welcome to join the lieutenant.
I have a hard time hearing, sir.
I just wanted to say that the community over at Holy Eucharist has really responded well to the family. And there are many, many people within the community, of our faith community, that are responding to the needs of the family. So arrangements for the funeral, etc., is all being taken care of. So it's a wonderful effort, not only by our parish community, but the community at large.
Father Jameson, I guess that'll be published shortly.
It will. As soon as we find out from the family, okay, then it will be published. But we don't know any more other than what everybody else does, other than the fact that 3 are deceased and 1 is still alive. So when the time comes, then they will be printed and given to everybody. The public will know what the arrangements will be. Okay.
Thank you, Father.
Any other questions you want from me?
Any questions of Father Jameson before we dismiss him? From the public? Thank you. Okay, we're going to open the public comment for agenda items only, except for the first reading ordinance, which discussion will be held during a public hearing. Anyone from the public want to comment on agenda items? Mr. Brooks.
Stuart Brooks, 78 Moores Meadow Road. Thank you and good evening. I have a question regarding the policy of no comments on first reading ordinances. When was that established and how was that established?
I don't think it's a policy. I think it's just to try and control the agenda and announcing that there'll be a public hearing, and we'll take comment on that. Certainly, I think they're just trying to marshal the agenda, Mr. Brooks.
It's my recollection, and I've been at many meetings, as you know, this is the first time that that policy has been discussed, let alone implemented. And it does seem odd coming as it does with the subject that it's attached to. And frankly, it it underscores the comments that you made, Mr. Barton, that everyone had a chance to see the item on the agenda, the item being a dissolution. It certainly seems like you're closing comment down, not controlling the
It'll be
agenda.
a public comment at the end of the meeting as well.
I realize that, but you cut public comment in half, essentially.
I don't agree.
2 opportunities for public comment compared to 1 opportunity for public comment by my math is half.
Well, there will also be public comment when we do the second reading.
Will you be limiting public comment to 3 minutes at the second opportunity?
Possibly. Anyone else from the public? Anyone else? Okay, close the public portion. Approval of the bills?
I'll make the motion.
The second?
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Brown?
Yes, but I'm abstaining on the municipal alliance bill.
Thank you. Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mayor Barton?
Yes. Approval of the minutes for the October 27, 2014 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Abstain.
Mayor Barton?
Yes. Approval of the November 14, 2014 workshop and executive minutes.
Can we separate those, please?
Yes. Approval of the November 10, 2014 workshop minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mayor Barton?
Yes. Approval of the November 10, 2014 executive minutes.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Brown?
Abstain.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mayor Barton?
Yes. Ordinance, first reading, ordinance 2014-8, an ordinance of the Township of Tabernacle, County of Burlington, New Jersey, providing the dissolution of the Tabernacle Fire District Number 1 pursuant to NJSA 40A:5A-20. Public hearing date, December 8, 2014 at 7:30. Motion?
So moved. Second.
Randy?
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Are we going to just have any discussion on it?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry.
So folks, this is the ordinance that would implement the dissolution. It was part of the application package that was sent to the local finance board. And based on the local finance board's decision, once this was published, it would become effective and become effective on its own terms. As you can see, it provides for the township to assume all of the financial obligations of the district, to assume all liabilities and obligations of the district. It dissolves, in fact, conclusively the district. It causes all of the funds and property of the district to revert to that of the township, and then authorizes your administrator to contract for firefighting services, much in the same way that the fire district commissioners did prior to dissolution. And so this was the subject of some discussion before it was included in the package. And now that the dissolution application has been approved by the local finance board of the Department of Community Affairs, this is the implementing action.
Peter, what is the thought behind including the information in Chapter 11, Article 2, about public safety and emergency, and Article 3 about the emergency management? They seem, if I'm reading this correctly, or I'm trying to read it, to refer to emergency rescue services and the CERT team. And I'm not sure, in my mind, that they need to be part of this kind of an ordinance?
To the extent that they do not affect the delivery of firefighting, I could agree. I think that that language deals with rescue services and the Office of Emergency Management. We did not give that any great thought. To the extent that the committee wanted to revisit those issues, we could simply delete those sections and go forward with the remainder of the ordinance, which would implement the dissolution and again, take care of everything that was necessary to effectuate the continuation of firefighting.
From my 2 cents there, I really don't think they have anything to do with directly what we're trying to set up. My recommendation would be that those 2 sections be cut out of the ordinance. Which 2 sections?
Article 3 and what was the other one?
I think what Mr. Franzen is referring to is section 6, where it talks about the creation of Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3. That Article 2 and 3 would be struck at this point, having nothing to do directly with the provision of firefighting services, and Article 1 would remain. So the ordinance would then effectuate a repeal of the Medford Farms ordinance sections and implement the plan for firefighting and the authorization to enter into a contract for those services. So it would simply involve, for the time being, deleting those remaining 2 paragraphs that create Articles 2 and 3, which would be Rescue and Office of Emergency Management. So again, so that there's no confusion that this is for implementation of firefighting, and that could easily be accomplished.
Well, let's say in the event that someday you decided to create an Office of Emergency Management, what do you do then? You rewrite another ordinance, we go through the process of...
You would adopt, I guess, sections that would be relevant to that, and they may be more developed. There may be some time spent on developing that language. Right now, all it does is parrot the language associated with fire and the private contracting. And it recognizes the Office of Emergency Management. But again, it's not part of an overall, this isn't an overall emergency public safety type ordinance. It's strictly related to implementation of firefighting and dissolution of the district. So for those reasons, in order to simplify it, I can't see any objection to deleting the second 2 sections, 2 and 3, under section 6.
All it does is save us the time of doing it later on, because you've already got it in the form of ordinance.
Well, if we did that, then I think that there's something to be said for having some experience with managing that service before finally detailing the ordinance and how it's going to handle that relationship. So I think in talking to Doug, I think that there's something to be said for having some experience in embarking on and managing that relationship before establishing a framework. It's very likely could change. So I think it is appropriate to have some experience in managing that relationship and then revisit the ordinance. I understand it would recall.
And that's my point. One, leave it in if you're going to change it anyway. This way you've already got something used to.
Necessarily, because we already have
Sorry?
an ordinance. We may not necessarily change it, but we already have an ordinance on the book.
But it doesn't mean
We would have to.
that you're going to change it anyway.
Ordinance at the same time.
You would change the ordinance that already exists, you would amend that, would be the way I would say it.
Right, that was my point. You're going to do it twice. You have it written already, it's already in here. Your focus is on the fire services.
There's also the section that's already in the ordinance that appoints them, and so that covers, they're already covered in that regard, in that they're already appointed as the squad. And they like to take some look at how that interplays.
I'm just trying to save in terms of the cost of writing ordinances over and over again, that's all.
Yeah.
to leave Article 11, Chapter 11, Article 2 and 3 in, or?
I agree with Rick, I think they should come out.
What do you think, Joe?
I'm okay with them in, and not having to redo another ordinance.
You would have to redo another ordinance anyway, because this would be in contradiction with the ordinance we already have in place. You're going to have to revisit something at some point if you put this in.
There's some uncertainty, it may be better to move forward with what we have unanimity on.
And modify it at the next meeting.
And then we can go forward on these other issues. I know that we don't want to make the sausage twice, but at the same time, better to move forward on issues where we have unanimity, and then revisit these issues. And I would like to adopt something tonight.
What do you need to, you need to decide tonight whether you leave in 2 or 3? Is that what it comes down to?
Well, as it's being introduced, I mean, you know,
We can take 2 and 3 out at the next meeting.
That would be a major change.
that would be a major change at that point, I think, yeah. I think it would be better to make the decision tonight and not have significant redactions and ask it to be adopted as a finished product and not recognize that that's a major change that would cause us, I think, to re-advertise.
I mean, what's the issue leaving it? we've had this for a while. It's not like we've never read this before. What is it we don't want to do?
My point is, I think what we're doing is we're setting up an ordinance for the dissolution of the fire district.
Right.
And that's the title of it.
Right.
And I think that once you get into other areas that are not part of that title, they don't belong in this ordinance. Especially when we already have another ordinance that deals with emergency services. And I think we already have something set up that deals with setting up the office of Corky's office. So
Right.
why are they there? I mean, just, it's possibly duplicating something we already have. I can't support that remain in there.
Well, this isn't the first time we've looked at this. I mean, this is something we've all talked about at one point or another. The idea behind putting Article 2 and 3 in, or if the event would change the scope of emergency services down the road, it didn't mean it was happening when we adopted this ordinance by any means. The whole point of this ordinance, as you said, was to focus on fire services. The idea behind putting in sections 2 and 3 were to have the language there if the event, after 6 months or a year, I think we talked about, that we would change, potentially make some modifications to emergency services, that we would have the language there. It was already there. We'd already talked about it. And we wouldn't have to write another ordinance. If you want to spend money and write another ordinance, we'll spend money and write another ordinance in a year. That's fine. I think this language is here. It's something that we've already talked about. If we want to spend money on writing more ordinances, I guess that's what we can do. So we can take out section 2 and 3 to move forward.
Okay, so Peter, you modify this to take out.
That's the
11, section 2 and 3.
maker of the motion, make that modification.
Yes.
No, I made the motion.
A second.
Wait, he said no.
No,
I said no, I did.
no.
I said yes.
I didn't.
Let's just take it out.
I didn't. I completely disagree with that. I think we wrote the ordinance, we leave the ordinance, we have it in place for a year from now. If we need it, if we don't need it, so what? Doesn't matter if it's there or not.
It does. You have to follow it.
It-
It's law. If you put it there, you have to follow
That's,
it.
but we also discussed this, and we had moved down the avenue of,
We've discussed a lot of things.
I'm going to retract my motion at this point. on this ordinance. So we'll need another second, another first, because I'm not going to do it.
Then I'll make the motion to remove sections 2 and 3.
Second.
Roll call?
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
No.
Mayor Barton?
Yes. Okay, resolution 2014-163, which is a street opening permit for South Jersey Gas at 7 Hanley Court. And resolution 2014-164, which is a street opening permit for South Jersey Gas at 52 Well Way. Make a motion for both of those.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mayor Barton?
Yes. Resolution 2014-165, which is award of contract for Sewing Place Road improvement. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Kramer and Mr. Morris?
Yeah, Mayor, we received bids on Thursday, November 13th. We received 5 bids. The low bid was Airwac Paving, the base bid, an alternate A bid totaling $482,000. This is basically a spring of 2015 project. We'll be starting probably the end of March, beginning of April. And basically, this is for paving Sewing Place Road. It's basically a pulverization of the road, reshaping the road, paving the road, some concrete work. We have a culvert replacement. Basically, we're going from Southampton Township line to the Woodland Township line.
Frank, this is going to do the entire project?
That's correct.
And Doug, I think I see where you're going. Where does that leave us with the capital money?
We
set aside?
We came in substantially below the estimate of,
$700-some thousand.
700-some thousand. We have funds of the 2013 road program and a portion of the 2014 road program.
I guess what I'm curious about, what's the number that this leaves us for the renovations to this building, the old squad building, and the Pepper House?
It leaves us the same 400,000 that we had allotted to it.
Thank you.
This came out of strictly road budget money.
There's a typo in the
Yes, number 3.
resolution.
Yes.
In the third paragraph.
Third paragraph, number 3.
That needs to be struck.
Airwac.
So we're doing the whole road, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that leaves us with how much for the capital improvement for the community center and for this building?
Leaves us the same 400,000 we started with. We didn't touch any of that money. We can't.
So where are we on the project? On the community center? Where are we on that? In terms of the, in terms of that project?
We have an estimate, right, Doug?
We have an estimate, and we need the buildings and grounds subcommittee to meet so we can have some direction after that.
I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought you and I were pretty clear about what our expectations were in terms of this road and the community center.
Well,
I'm not getting worked out. Maybe I'm off, but maybe I need an update on what's going on with the community center.
I think when we first were talking about this road project, the road project for the full length, the amount of money was, I don't remember the number, but it was probably double this. Yeah, it was.
727,000?
You know, my concern all the while, and I think this is what you and I had talked about, was that
we have enough capital money for the 3 projects we've talked about.
770
road. And that, you know, if necessary, we do the road over a 2-year time. And if Doug is assuring us that we have the money that we set aside for the squad building, Pepper House, and this building, and we can afford this because the budget came in so low, the estimate came in so low, then I think we're okay. I thought it was just going to be a half.
Yeah, I'd like an update next meeting about where we are with the community center project. And if that means that, if it means that the Buildings and Grounds Committee has to meet, and that's what the report's going to be, then so be it. But I want to know what we're doing with the community center.
Right now, Stephen, we have an estimate from the architect of $762,000 for the community center. That does not include the asphalt parking lot, septic, or any well work. So this 400 is probably about less than half the cost just to do the community center.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think we have to have a subcommittee meeting and talk about this, because I think there's some other options there that need to be explored.
What is this, Frank, was this project bid as sections, as a 2-part?
Yeah, basically it was bid as a base bid. And the base bid, see here, Merrimack, came in at $271,000 just for the base bid, which is from the Southampton Township line to Irix Causeway. And then the alternate A was basically $211,000.
We have a little over 300,000 in the 2013 road budget. We would take the money out of there first, then we would take the money out of the 2014, and whatever was left, you could rededicate to the building project.
So we still have an opportunity to do this in segments if we wanted to.
The recommendation from the engineer and the recommendation from mine is because of the price is substantially better than we anticipated, that we take advantage of it and award the whole project, because it is about where we thought we were going to be for half.
Yeah, it is a good price.
Yeah, I think basically because of the time of the year, a lot of contracts are finishing up current contracts this year. So these are contractors that are scheduling beginning of next year, the March, April time period or whatever. So the prices would be much better unless the oil prices basically decline.
It's not that I don't want to do Suey Road, I just, we need to get the community center done and move forward with it and not just get stalled, not have a couple meetings and then not talk about it for 2 months.
Okay, any further discussion on the resolution?
Just one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a couple typos in there. Check the first paragraph and the third paragraph.
Make it on record.
The first paragraph, it says seal bids performed in connection with electrical construction of the Patty Boker concession building. Which needs to be changed to Sewing Place Road.
Yeah, I think she borrowed that from our...
No, I understand what happened, but I just think that, you know, she would want it correct, and I want to make sure it is. And then the third paragraph, excuse me?
Rainco.
No, the third paragraph down, where it says,
Electrical construction for Patty Boker.
yeah, the electrical construction for Patty Boker Road concession stand. So, and then number 3, the name of the company that's doing the paving.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
The motion was,
Okay, with those changes, we have a motion, and we have a second, roll call.
yes, Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mayor Barton?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, reports, Mr. Morris, Township Engineer.
basically, still working with South Jersey Gas. They started back up. There was a time period they weren't working in Tabernacle Township, but they are back now. We replaced the concrete monuments, had to be replaced, and so we're moving forward with the South Jersey Gas application.
Anything else?
That's all.
Township Administrator, Mr. Kramer? Solicitor, Mr. Lang?
Mayor, I will indicate that Hans had some questions about the number of lots that will be yielded out there in Medford Park. We're having discussions with that. She also had some modifications to our original language, so she just got that back to us. We're getting back to her. That process will conclude soon, I hope. I also wanted to mention to the committee that it was my intention at the workshop to bring up the Pagliuso issue. We have not received any word from Mr. Pagliuso. That has an issue that's on raising again. So that the committee, I think, was intent on circling back around to that issue. And so I'll recirculate my memo in that in anticipation of inviting a discussion and maybe some action on that issue at the workshop. Other than that, I have nothing tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Township Committee, Francis?
Yeah, I really wanted to briefly address the event last year. A few thoughts that I had, I won't make it very long. I think every day we pick up the newspapers and we see tragedies happen. We read about them on the internet and we see them on TV. And they're always far away events. They always seem to occur someplace else, never where you are. And of course, this did happen where we are. And you really see how these kind of things affect people and communities. And I'd like to just look at this in a positive way and give a huge shout out to the state police, to the rescue squad, to the township committee emergency management guys who were there, Corky Lowe, to all the community people who came together on the internet and set up some firefighters, the PTA, and I'm sure I'm skipping somebody, but I think my whole point here is when you see this happen to you and to your community, and you see how people respond so positive to it in terms of trying to make things better, it makes you feel good about where you live. And I think I'm quite proud of the town that we live in because of the way it did come together and try and deal with this. So I just put that out.
Thank you, Rick. Committeewoman Brown?
I really don't have anything to say. What I was going to report on, I ended up having to leave, so.
Deputy Mayor Lee?
I attended the League of Municipalities this week, Wednesday, and also the New Jersey Farm Bureau Convention on Monday and Tuesday. There was a talk by one of the speakers on Tuesday about fire location, fire response to farms, and which we have a lot of here in Tabernacle. One of the things that they talked about was the importance of farmers reaching out to the emergency services personnel. So if in the event there was a catastrophe at a farm, such as an example in a barn somewhere where chemicals were stored, that the fire company knew exactly where those chemicals were stored, they knew what was there, which is a requirement for farmers to do. They have to send a report every year, which I do to Woodland Township Fire Company and have them. But I think it's good for farmers to reach out to the emergency services folks, and even talk about having a barbecue to invite emergency service personnel to come out to the different farms and see and get familiar with what was where, numbering buildings, numbering fields, so the emergency service personnel had an exact location for stuff. So there'll be more to come on that later on. The comedy night was this past week at the firehouse. I cut some rolls up and helped out with the fruit preparation a little bit. I understand that's sold out, so that was good. And Thursday was a pretty rough day for me. I came up here at 9:45, 10 o'clock when Doug called me from the league, and I spent the better part of the day with our emergency service personnel, fire company, the public works guys, and I got to tell you, I was tremendously proud of not only the efforts and the responding to the event, but after the fact, they each of those individuals deserves our gratitude, period. And I saw it firsthand on Thursday, bouncing between here and the fire company and emergency services. Even I stuck my head in the school at one point to see George Rafferty, and I got to tell you, I was tremendously proud of the efforts that our folks made. George Jackson was stellar in working with his folks. Dave Smith, same thing with the fire company. It was really amazing to watch it happen, and I was tremendously proud to witness firsthand their efforts, and my heart goes out to each and every one of them who responded to that call on Thursday. In addition to our folks from Public Works, Eileen was keeping things going here at the Township Building on Thursday, answering phones, but you never would have known anything was going on, as bright and cheerful as she was with every single phone call that she made. And it talks about the teamwork and the dedication we have as members of this community in one way or the other. We were all pitching in, and I'm just tremendously proud of the efforts that those folks made on Thursday. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. And again, on behalf of the Township Committee, our heart and soul goes out to the family. You've seen there's been candlelight vigils. You've seen the news media frenzy over this. And our role is just to provide people the opportunity to grieve, mourn, and to heal, and bring this together in some way down the road when the state police complete their investigation. Hopefully there'll be time and an opportunity to see, is there something in the future to prevent a tragedy like this happening. As Stephen said, you know, we see things like this in the paper all the time. But who would ever believe that would happen in our backyard in this quiet community of Tabernacle? I'm glad that Father Jameson was here and confirmed that you know, there are going to be services and things are moving forward in that front. That was kind of one of the things we weren't aware of what was going to happen with the family as far as the funeral, the viewing, the burial of the children and the mother. And you know, we pray that young Alexander lives and that someday this will be behind us and it'll just be a sad day to remember. Again, I'd also like to thank all our first responders for what they went through. It's got to be pretty traumatic to go into a house and witness what they witnessed, and then go home to your family and try to sleep that night and perform your duties going into the future. So I know Jamie's here and Chief Jackson's here. Thank you guys. And we got Rudy and Stu from the fire department, and Colonel Lowe, thank you also. Okay, with that, we're going to open the public comment. Anyone from the public? Just over here.
Hi, Mark Lemire, 32 Washington Way. First, I want to echo all the thoughts of the Township Committee. It really was quite a horrific event, but as everybody's point, it's amazing how communities come together in such a tragic time. So it really is heartening to see that. So not much can come out of something this horrific, but I think the fact that all the efforts of everybody in the room, all the emergency services, everybody puts their heart and soul to this really stepped up, and I'm certainly proud to be a resident. You know, with that event, you know, it's just so fresh in our minds, and of course the issue relative to the resolution and the emergency services. It's been kind of a tough year, I think, for the township, or at least a challenging one. So I appreciate everybody's effort on the DS and everybody back in the audience that has a stake in that. You know, in that context, what I want to talk about just briefly is, it seems a little trivial, but in actuality it's not. And that is, I just really want to promote something for the township. Basically, you'll see that the Historical Society, Tabernacle PTA, and the Women's Association of Tabernacle have organized the first tree lighting in, I think, Tabernacle's history, although somebody may be old enough to remember when it was done with candles. Come on, you're 4 generations old, you can remember that.
We used to light them with torches.
Okay, there you go. So, so anyway, they are having a tree lighting on December 5th. It's Friday night at 7 p.m. here in the gazebo. So we're going to be lighting up the tree, and I think they're going to have a fairly good turnout. Participation by the schools, a lot of the children in school, and so on. So I just want to let everybody know that is going to occur. Certainly, would appreciate everybody's participation and spreading the word. So again, it's just another community event, just trying to bring the community together. It's probably well timed as well, but it is a joyous event. They're going to have some refreshments here in the Township building as well. So again, I hope everybody can take a chance to stop by and show some support, additional support for the community and everybody who lives in it.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, thanks
You
very
have
much.
flyers posted?
This is downstairs, we can get you some copies of it, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Thank you. We hope to see everyone Friday at the tree lighting ceremony. Anyone else from the public? Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Stuart Brooks, 78 North Meadow Road. At the risk of being redundant, but I didn't think this thought can be expressed too much or too sincerely. You know, I think everyone's hearts go out to everyone who was involved, and our appreciation for all the people who were involved in trying to bring order out of the tragedy that occurred. It's much appreciated. What follows is mundane, but as the meeting goes on. At the LFB hearing, I understand that the committee made a commitment to purchase a truck. What truck are you making a commitment to? I know that Chief Smith recommended pumper, and the voters approved the pumper. Is that the truck that's being committed to?
The committee indicated that they would commit to a truck. The local finance board asked what their plans were. The committee simply indicated that the voters had approved the truck and that they had intended to go forward with the truck. There was no, I don't think, any specificity beyond that at this point.
I'm asking for that specificity.
Well, I don't think it's been discussed at tonight's meeting, so I don't know that they've come to any conclusion, but certainly I'm sure that they ultimately will get there. But again, I'm not speaking for them, they're here.
My intention is that yes, they need a truck. Yes, the voters approved the truck. And I know they went through a process to pick a truck. I think once we get past the ordinance and the ordinance is adopted and we have a contract with a fire company, I would like to revisit and see, is that the truck that they want? And we will get them the truck that suits their needs and that best suits the fire company.
I also understand that the township committee committed to continuing the LoSAP. Is that correct? Committed at the LFD hearing, that the LoSAP would continue to be provided.
Certain members of the board asked what their intentions were. They said that they had no intention other than to continue with that program. So it wasn't a quid pro quo with the board, but certainly the committee did make it clear that that was their intention.
Well, currently, as I understand it, the LoSAP is provided for the volunteer firefighters. Is LoSAP going to be provided to the rescue squad as well, which would be an expansion rather than a continuation? Again, what's the commitment that was made? What are your intentions?
I don't believe we made any commitment.
My knowledge, the issue's never come up.
Regarding the ordinance at first reading and the committee's discussion about eliminating certain provisions, I stand with Mr. Lee on this one. You've been working on this issue for over a year. Subcommittees have worked on it for 5 months, brought back all the relevant information that you needed, did a thorough job, and the superlatives that describe the work are loud and clear, and it is surprising that at this stage, the plan that you have for the provision, management, organization of emergency services either isn't being put before us or is still unformulated. And frankly, either option is not that satisfying. Lastly, at the last meeting regarding the wash bay, I had commented that I was looking forward to increased official use of the wash bay by the school district, which had been a long time in coming, and commented that for a long time the school district had been washing its official vehicles and the runoff was going into our streams and villages. And the comment was made thereafter that a citizen asked if there had been a violation against the school district. The implication being that if a letter hadn't been written from Trenton, or if it hadn't been discovered that this was being done, that was somehow okay. And I want the committee to know that my concern on this has always been that our water stay clean. It's not whether Trenton is issuing a violation notice and the school district is getting caught or not getting caught. The point is, we built a $4 million building, which I was one of the few supporters in this room of. And one of the benefits of that building was it had this somewhat sophisticated water separation technology that would collect contaminants and keep them from our groundwater and our surface water. And the thought was, and the express statements were made, that we would have this and all of our official vehicles would use it, and that would be a public good. So the fact that the school district is not using it is not a public good. Whether it ripens into a violation, frankly, I'm not that concerned. I'd rather that since we use it, since we have it, since we paid for it, and since it serves a good purpose, we should use it. That's all. Thank you.
It is available to the school district, Mr. Brooks.
My understanding was that they hadn't yet been brought into the program, and it's been 2 years. In fact, I'm the only, I bring this to your attention probably ad nauseum, and it's only because I keep raising it that progress seems to be made, and progress on this is such a simple issue. It really is.
Anyone else from the public? Mrs. Brooks?
Oh, go ahead.
Your name, Mrs. Brooks?
Fran Brooks, Morris Meadow Road. At the last meeting, I asked about two sets of executive session meetings. One was for April 14, and that had a reference to underground storage tanks. And then the 7/28/14 executive session meetings, which have minutes which refer to my OPA case. Do you have any information about the April 14 meetings? As you said, you were going to research
I
that.
think the last time that we approved minutes was in April.
Maybe March or April.
So what I asked the clerk to do was to gather all of the unreleased minutes and to provide them for my review, and in consultation with the committee and the mayor initially, I will move those forward that I think are ripe for release. So the clerk has provided me all of those records, and we will review them and make my recommendations. It's a process that we do a couple times a year and have done last in April, so we will move forward with that now.
Are you expecting to do that in the near future? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. The other issue that I'd like to raise is a statement that you, Mr. Lang, made to the prosecutor in response to my complaint to the prosecutor regarding potential OPMA violations. And I wrote you and the committee a letter, and regarding the statement that I'm repeatedly advising members of the public that the Township Committee is under investigation. Rather than get into mincing words, I have not received any substantiation of such a claim. I don't believe that the prosecutor either has received any substantiation regarding that claim. So what I'm wondering about is, are you withdrawing that statement that you made, since it is false? But I haven't received any confirmation from you that I directly asked for.
Yeah, well, I'm not withdrawing my statement in that regard. My recollection is that you've said that at these meetings, I think, or before and after the meetings, indicating that the committee was under investigation.
I have never said that, Mr. Lang.
Well,
I have never spoken about the filing or the writing to the prosecutor at a public meeting.
Ms. Brooks, I don't think it's important at this point.
Yeah,
It's
oh,
a-
it is
it's a moot
important
point.
because you made a full statement, and at least when I speak, I do substantiate what I say. So when you make a claim that is false, I would like to receive substantiation of it. And you have not provided any of that substantiation. And I'm not asking for anything regarding here that's based on hearsay. I'm asking for concrete substantiation that you
It's my
supposedly
belief that that
have.
is in fact what you've been doing, is telling everybody that that the committee is under some investigation, and that should be some
Where's
cloud over the process. I
Where's
think you want to
your
personalize.
substantiation of that? I'm not personalizing it, I want to know where your substantiation is of such a statement. I've never said that in a public meeting, and if you have substantiation, please come forward with it. You have an obligation to do that as a licensed attorney.
I do.
You have an obligation. It would be ethical, there are ethical issues involved in this. You're making a
I
claim
think
that's
it's a moot
false.
point. I don't think it's worthy of discussion at this point.
Well, it would be nice for you to provide substantiation in your responses, so. The other issue that I'd like to bring up is regarding volunteerism. May I continue?
Yes.
Since you cut out our 3 minutes at the beginning. It's a fact that Chief Smith has been unable to increase volunteerism in the fire company and bring on new volunteers. And I know that Mr. Lee and Deputy Mayor Lee and Committeewoman Brown visited with the fire company last week to ask them to participate in the volunteer fire company and to assist the township in implementing its program. But what type of program do you have, what kind of plan do you have for increasing volunteerism, since Chief Smith has been unable to do it for the last several years? Do you have a plan in place to do that? Because I'm sure that when you made comments to the local finance board, you were supporting his statements that there wouldn't be any trouble getting volunteers to participate. So I'm interested in knowing if you have a plan for improving volunteerism and increasing volunteerism.
Well, at this time, we have an ordinance that is going to second reading. Once the ordinance is passed, we will contract with a fire company. And we would expect that company would advertise for volunteers and solicit volunteers.
Okay, so in the many months that you studied this issue to whether to dissolve the district, you never considered considered a volunteer plan in all of those months?
I did not.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. McCarthy.
Ray McCarty, 368 Tuckerton Road. I have to agree with Mr. Brooks on the wash pay issue. It just is common sense that the school district would be using it. And does do we run the township trucks through that?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Because that was one of the benefits. This dissolution of fire district, so the township is going to have financial control and handle the funding. Okay. Now, when any monies they have that get turned over to you, are they going to go into general fund, or does that get earmarked for fire company use?
Doug, I believe our intention was to set up a separate line item.
Our intention is,
Something we could do
is,
is up our account.
yeah, our intention is to fund the fire company through the line item and in addition to other line items that we presently already have to put those funds into there to service the building and that type of stuff. We already have the buildings and grounds line items.
Did I hit the jacket or what?
No, I wish you did. Sorry, Ray, my phone kind of, we went over, by the way, we had 6 minutes for Mr. and Mrs. Brooks.
I'm sorry.
But
my phone's not working, so sorry.
So that's how we anticipate.
That's what happened.
And then the township currently owns the building and the fire trucks? Or, no, the fire district does.
Fire district does, right?
So then that will come to the township.
All the property of the fire district reverts to the ownership of the township.
Okay. Because the taxpayers paid for it anyway.
That's exactly why.
Yeah, so I mean, it's, okay, and that was, those articles that got scratched from the thing, section 6, was it changing chapter 11, articles 2 and 3?
Yeah, it had to do with establishing a relationship with Rescue and the OEM. So the committee apparently would like to keep this narrowly circumscribed to the purpose at this point in time.
I mean, I don't really have an opinion on it. It's, you know, I could play that either way if I were involved in that. So, but we pay you guys to pay for it. Thank you very much.
Anyone else from the public? Mr. Lefkow?
No crutches, huh? No, much better, thank you. Jason Letos, 5 Orchard Court. Two things. One, with respect to the ordinance for dissolution. The way I read it, it sounds like it would take effect immediately upon passage. Is that correct?
On publication after a public hearing and second reading.
Okay, so that is currently scheduled for December 8th, right?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to point out that is the same evening that the fire district presently has a meeting scheduled for. Typically at those meetings, they'll take the ministerial task such as approving the last meeting's minutes as well as paying the bills that are due at that point. So please just keep that in mind as you work towards transferring that. Either you do rely on them to pay the bills at that point, or you can anticipate that they'll be private citizens without the authority to actually spend public funds that you guys plan to take care of that accordingly. The other thing I wanted to point out is with respect to the camera over my shoulder. I know you're not allowed to flat out ban that thing, but you are allowed to implement reasonable restrictions related to it. I would request that you look into those things because, for example, if I didn't keep up on what's going on in the community, I wouldn't know who this person is or why they're there, what's going to happen with that recording. I know, for example, the Board of Ed requires anybody who's going to make video recordings to, at the beginning of the meetings, announce who they are, what their affiliation is, and possibly what they're going to do with it. I think it's just an important issue because there may be reasons why, for example, you may not want to be recorded. Somebody may be a potential victim of abuse and may not want their image portrayed. The Board of Ed typically has more children at their meetings than you guys do, but there may be times that children are here and the parents may not want the children's image portrayed. In particular, and this, I'm sorry, I forget who pointed out, I was on crutches last meeting in sweatpants. The camera had a good shot of that, and frankly, I think that's quite undignified. For example, if you were to move the camera up towards the front, then the camera could see my face when I'm speaking instead of other parts of my body, and I would appreciate that. So just, again, I know you can't outright ban it, I'm not asking you to do so, but just look into what you could do to make it, a more dignified experience for your residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Lefkow. Anyone else from the public?
No, you go.
Mrs. Berger?
Kathy Berger, 18 Woodside Drive. I want to thank Mr. Lee for his comments regarding the ordinance. I don't think Mr. Lang took that upon himself to draft that. I would hope he had direction from the committee going forward. So for there to be discussion tonight like there was is very disappointing. I would suggest maybe that you guys do discussion items and do draft in a workshop meeting and then maybe present your first reading so you're all on the same page. It might just streamline items. And I had a little concern, Mr. Lee, you did say that this is something that you have all talked about. I'm a little concerned about that because it's never been discussed publicly. So when were you all discussing that this is what you thought you were putting forward? And I'm just going by words you're saying while you're up here. Mr. Franzen, I'm disappointed at you with what happened this evening with the ordinance. You sat here over the last several months and said the whole thing you wanted to do was bring unity among the emergency services. This ordinance does just that. It makes everything uniform. No service is above or below the other. They all follow the same rules. And now you're asking them to take it away and go by the one on the books, and it's gonna make people different again. So I ask you to look at that as you bring this forward again. And I think that's all I have, besides the fact that I would like all of you to start coming forward with your plan. When people come up here and ask you about what is the plan and how are you gonna move forward, don't sit there and look at the ceiling and look at the walls and look at each other and don't wanna answer us. It is time. Tomorrow is 1 year since the petition was brought to you. It's time to answer the questions. Thank you.
Here, here.
Chief Jackson?
Jackson, Chief Tabernacle Township, 566 Woodside Drive. First, I would like to, in reference to Thursday, as the chief of the organization, the first thing I need to do is, I need to thank the support that we got from the township for my group and for the fire company. The outpouring, we had people anonymously show up and drop off things to our group. Candy, food, snacks, just to, because of the day or the week that we've been having. Colonel Lowe, we're right next to each other, and sometimes in the frazzle, he was a good sounding board for me to kind of focus me a couple times, because as Deputy Mayor Lee knows, I was going in a million directions at once, trying to coordinate and take care of my people. So thank you for your help and guiding me or helping me and making suggestions and just saying, hey, what do you need? To Doug for reaching out to us. Deputy Mayor Lee, it was nice to have somebody from committee there with us that day. It gave my membership, I guess, some comfort. Somebody was there from the township committee. You kind of experienced and you saw what they were going through, and I think that meant a lot to them. It meant a lot to me. I can't be more prouder than my group. In the darkest hour of the town, they performed flawlessly. I mean, I expect them to go out every day and do their job and know what to do, but in light of what they were confronted with, the performance that they gave and what they did and what they were able to accomplish, we had some very young members, less than 20, out there, and they performed like seasoned vets. For me, it was, as sad as it was a proud moment for me. I wasn't there. Unfortunately, I was at work when it initially went out, so, for them to be there without one of their chiefs and to perform the way they did, it just speaks fine to the caliber of the emergency services on all sides. The fire company was just as much of a part of it as the squad was, and they were just as much involved in it. So I just wanted to take that opportunity to thank everybody, the township as a whole, for your support, continued support. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chief Jackson. Anyone else from the public? Okay, with that, close the public portion. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Hopefully we'll see everyone Friday at the gazebo.
Can't you take it?